All right, so I'm going to take the negative off first using our 8mm socket. Now you got to be careful. Sometimes when you do this, your radio will lose its programming. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Bob's Home Services channel. Today is the 25th of January 2019, and we are going to take this battery tender, which we got from Harbor Freight. And I know what you may be thinking, Harbor Freight, really? My buddy next door actually has one of these on his car, keeps his battery up so that it never goes dead on him. It's been very cold out lately, and the van has been dying over the weekend, because I have a lot of stuff plugged into it, and sometimes I forget and leave things on as well, but this will help keep it up. So it's got these little crazy brackets that hook into these little holes in the front and then snap on, not very well, and then would mount to the truck. And then there's a smaller bracket that'll go on there, and that'll mount as well, holding it tight to the truck. So we're going to go out there, figure out where this is actually going to go, and then drill a hole in the truck and put some screws in. So let's go out to the truck and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so you can see the batteries right here. We have some free space over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down into here where I want it. And I'm just going to put a dot on there where I want to drill. Now I'm only putting one screw into there, and it's going to be a self-tapping sheet metal screw, because when I put the other bracket on the top here, I want it to go into a screw hole above that one. I'm not using both of these because things don't line up the way Harbor Freight said they would. Alright, let's see if we can get in here with this little drill and put a hole right in there. Alright, so like most things at Harbor Freight, when these are together, you cannot squeeze these two brackets together to line the holes up. The best you can get is a partial crescent shape. Not enough to actually put a screw through. So I am putting this into the vise and just lightly holding it together. And I'm going to drill a new hole through, so when I put it in there, I put one screw through all of it and hold it all in place. Let's see what happens. Now I'll be able to line them up, put one screw through. Now I can put one self-tapper through there into the truck, and it'll hold the whole unit. Sometimes when you get things from Harbor Freight, they're not exactly lined up the way they're supposed to be. It's good steel, strong. You know, it'll hold this securely. Sometimes you got to change things. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to place this in here and get it mounted, and then we'll worry about hooking up the power lines. All right. That's tightened in there. And these are the power lines that'll hook to the battery. So let's get them connected. And then we'll try her out. So I'm going to take the negative off first using our 8mm socket. Now you got to be careful. Sometimes when you do this, your radio will lose its programming. And if it does, you'll need a code sometimes to put it back. Now make sure when you're loosening the hot terminal, the handle to your ratchet does not hit anything that's ground, because you will get zapped. Now what you do is you just take the line, and it has a loop on it. That loop goes over that bolt, and you put it back together. I'm hoping that you can see this. Alright, in this case, it's not going to go on that way. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut a little bit of notch out of here for the wire to fit through. We'll have to do that on the hot as well as the ground side, because there's just not enough room in here. So we're just going to have to put a little groove right there. And we can do that by melting it or cutting it with a razor knife. We're going to try cutting it with a razor. You want to do this without hurting yourself, so it doesn't take much. Just a little chunk out of there, out of the rubber. And remember, cut up away from your hand so you don't slip and cut your hand. Just like that. And that should be able to allow this wire to stick out enough so that we can tighten this back on. And that won't hurt your battery at all. There you go. Nice and tight, just like that. You want to make sure you tighten these, because if you don't tighten them, your alternator won't charge the battery properly. Now we're going to do the negative side. And then all you have is this plug here, and that plugs into an extension cord, and it can run right down through the base of the truck. So it might be a good idea when you're putting one of these in, figure out where you're going to place it. So maybe you can get a small extension cord, like 2 feet long or whatever. All right, so there's several ways you can handle this. I have a piece of old scrap extension cord. This is the female end, obviously, which will plug into that. The other end of it doesn't have anything on it, so I'm going to wire a plug onto it. This way, I'll make it the exact length that I need for this particular van, which is a 2017 GMC Savannah. So I'm going to fish this down in here. And right out that hole at the bottom where you see the light, that's where it's going to go out. I won't be able to show you this on the camera, so I'm going to do that and then show you where I'd ran it. Alright, so we got it plugged in. Got a little bit of a service loop there, and then it goes down. And as you can see, it goes down right out that hole right there. And then underneath the van, it comes out right there. I have it run through the frame. I'm going to wire tie it to that cross beam. And we're going to cut this down so it ain't quite as long as this. This doesn't need to be that long. And run the wire through. Figure out what length you want it at. And then cut it back to there. I don't know if you're really getting much of a visual on this, and I apologize. Try to show it this way. Right to the silver screw. Black to the gold screw. And I always put it on so that as I tighten it, it pulls the wire on. If it was a loop the other way, it wouldn't hold it as well. And then green goes to the green screw, which is the ground. And being this is going to be out in the weather, probably a good idea to ensure you have your ground on it. And then this only fits on one way. You got to find the groove that it fits into. Right there. Just like so. Then there's 3 screws here you tighten down. Alright, so now I'm going to pull the van forward and show you how we're going to run the extension cord to power the battery tender. And then just pull the excess. You cannot plug this in while the vehicle is running. Make sure you turn your vehicle off before you plug in the tender. Make sure you unplug it before you start your vehicle. It can damage your battery. So I'm going to let this warm up a little bit, seeing as it hasn't run all night. Once it's warmed up, I will turn it back off and plug in the tender. Alright, so there's a little yellow light that's supposed to go on when we plug it in. see what happens. There it is.